The Patterson family has just started our fourth trip west in 1955. We crossed the country on the eastern third, and we stop in the western end of Iowa, western side of Iowa, at a little campsite and picnic area, which has a nice overview of the Missouri River behind us. This little picnic area has a strange name. It's called Mosquito Park. I take this picture because we've gone there several years, and this particular year, so we've stopped there more than once.
From Mosquito Park, we get a good view of the Mississippi River coming up.
And there's the Missouri, the bridge over the Missouri. The sunset view as we head west across the Missouri. A quick view of the shore of the Missouri River looking through the trees. This is one of the routes that the Pony Express took years ago. There's a little emblem of the man on the horse, the Pony Express. This is an old, ragged little post on the side of the trail where the Pony Express stopped or changed horses. Here we are, Dawn, Bruce, and Glenn at this little Pony Express station. There's the sign, Missouri River. Here we're taking a little bath in the Missouri River after we've crossed it the next day.
Here we're taking a dip in the Missouri River, and one of us takes a little nap on the beach. This is a famous point on the old Oregon Trail. It's called Chimney Rock. On this trip and on several other trips, we have passed that. On one trip years later, we actually camped at Chimney Rock, but this is 1955. It's the first time we saw it. Right near Chimney Rock is Scotts Bluff, where we can climb up and look westward to see the rest of the trail. There are some of the ruts of the Oregon Trail west of Scotts Bluff, looking westward. Some more of the same. The ruts of the original Oregon Trail west of Scotts Bluff. Don, Bruce, and Glenn. And there's Shirley with us on top of Scotts Bluff. I've joined that picture. Still on top of Scotts Bluff. We also stopped at Fort Laramie, one of the original military forts out there after the days of the Oregon Trail. Here we are, having camped right next to our Pontiac station wagon. A pretty oak, grassy trees, park area next to part of old Fort Laramie. Below us is the Missouri River. one of the original military buildings of Fort Laramie. Officers' quarters at Fort Laramie. This fort, for instance, was built by the American Fur Company. They were the company that were there looking for beaver, for furs. Another Fort Laramie picture. Fort Platte, another one of those early forts in 1841. Now we're going to have quite an adventure. This little sign suggests that we cross the meadow there and find the original Far Oregon Trail ruts at this point. It's quite dramatic. As we're crossing the meadow, we find the grave of one of the pioneers and the Oregon pioneers who died at this point and was buried here. It was here that the land was so tough that the wagons crossed this stretch of trail and rock. All the wagons, they were sort of forced to take one particular stretch. And in this one stretch across this area of rock, the wheels dug the trail deeper and deeper. Here you see the wheel ruts. That's a very dramatic picture of our little family gathered together in the original wheel ruts of the Oregon Trail wagons. The bar underneath holding the wheels planed the center smooth so it was flat, while the wheels themselves dug the ruts. The same picture again. This really gives one a sense of history. This is out there on the plains of the West, all by itself. No roads near it. We had to hike to get there. But it's a slice of American history you're looking at. Here was one of the pioneers who scratched his name in 1852. And another name scratched. Another name, 1855. Another name scratched in the rock by one of the original pioneers. Here we are standing, look at Independence Rock, another of the famous landmarks of the Oregon Trail, with the many etchings of names. And we decided we would climb Independence Rock and camp out up there. So here we are unloading our wagon. We're climbing Independence Rock. Having a picnic supper at the foot of Independence Rock. Another one of the names scratched in Independence Rock by the Oregon Trail pioneers. There's dawn on top of Independence Rock. Shirley and Glenn on top of Independence Rock. Don, Bruce, and Glenn on top of Independence Rock looking west. That's the Sweetwater River, which gave the Oregon Trail pioneers a good deal of difficulty. They enjoyed the water, but it was very difficult to pull their wagons, horse-drawn, ox-drawn wagons, across that river without spilling them and dumping everybody into the water. One more shot of Independence Rock and some graves of the original pioneers who came through here following the Oregon Trail. This is another monumental point on the Oregon Trail, Devil's Gate. Many of the wagon people made note of that. They didn't use it to go through, they were just passing it. This is another very remarkable point on the Oregon Trail, Martin's Cove. This was a group of pioneers headed for Salt Lake City, Mormon pioneers, and they got caught in an early winter and had to spend a good deal of the winter trying to camp out there. They hadn't planned to do that, and many of them died. It was a great tragedy for the Mormon people on following the trail. This is South Pass. We're at the Continental Divide, and we camped out at South Pass. That was our campground. Look west and you can get a little sense of the Rocky Mountains ahead of us. Now we've reached the Tetons, Jackson Hole. A little picture of Glenn and of Don and of Bruce. In Grand Teton National Park, there was a little area set aside for kids to ride horses. So we gave the kids that privilege. That's Glenn on board a horse. There's a picture of the Teton Range with Jackson Hole showing in the foreground. To the right in the range is Mount Moran, which later years we climbed. Years ago, one airplane crashed on the top of Mount Moran, and the remains were still there. We climbed it several years later in a very difficult climb. That's the Grand Teton at the top. Here we're back at the horse corral. Shirley gets her turn. We stopped by a little lake, a picture of Glenn getting ready to get wet. We took a boat ride on Jenny Lake up there in Jackson Hole, just at the foot of the Tetons. That's looking across Jackson Hole to a great landslide which took place in the mountains over there, and the land slid down, formed a dam, and the dam formed a lake. On the right-hand side there, at the hump, is Gannett Peak, which later on we climbed. Gannett Peak is even higher than the Grand Teton itself. And we stopped at Moose, a famous stopping point right there on the Snake River. Little eating place and a little bridge across the Snake in front of the range of the Tetons. As it got cold, we ate indoors. That is, in the tent, that is, and camped out. Breakfast at the Tetons, Shirley at our little cook stove and our aluminum table. Pancakes, anyone? A good view of the Grand Teton with the eastern lights shining on it. This at Moose is the Chapel of the Transfiguration, right in front of the Tetons. Instead of a formal altar, they simply put a plate glass where the altars would stand, and that's looking from inside the church to that front range of the Tetons. Shirley in her summer wear. We found a little stream to keep cool in. A beautiful shot of Shirley Patterson on the trail. We're doing a hike there in Jackson Hole. Looking across Jenny Lake. There's a moose in the woods next to us. And another resident of Jackson Hole. A little closer. And very close. And this is a bear with cubs. With 2 cubs. That's getting a little too close. Now we drive north from Grand Teton National Park up to Yellowstone to take a look at the famous glaciers and boiling pools in this area of Yellowstone. This is Old Faithful starting to shoot up. It goes off faithfully every 55 minutes. These pools at Yellowstone are extremely hot, boiling water, but beautiful blue colors. Those pools gave off a lot of steam, boiling hot water. Now we're up at the Continental Divide. Now we're beginning to follow the trail of Lewis and Clark. In this area, Sacagawea, Lewis and Clark met her, Indian princess, who was a tremendous help to steering them through the wilderness up here. She joined the party. This is the area of trails we were following. the famous quotation from Lewis and Clark's journal, "Thank God that I have lived to bestride the mighty Missouri." And here we are bestriding it. This is the end of the section of this part of our trip in 1955.